the whole concept of failing fast, especially in today's market, is not looked at favorably, right? But it also is very fundamental to innovation, to growth, and the whole idea of promoting a culture of experimentation and learning. When the employees have a clear picture what the organization's status is, they are more likely to make more responsible decisions regarding risk taking, right? I know people talk about celebrating failures. It's good, do that, but don't just accept that. Just learn from the failure.
Here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our CHRO Connect series. We have a very distinguished guest here with us today, Mr. Rizwan Khan. Welcome, Mr. Rizwan.
Thank you.
Very good afternoon to you.
Thank you, Steffi, for having me.
So before we get into the thick of the session, could you let us know a little bit about your journey as a HR leader and what were some of the key turning points for you?
Great. So my journey has been that of serendipity, Steffi. I did not pursue the role of HR. I actually evolved into this role. My background is that of learning and development, and as you well called that out, is in a business roles background. But when this opportunity came along, I just took it because I think the way I look at this is one needs to have a very strong people development understanding and a good business context to be able to do well in this role, right? What I mean by this is if you just have a focus on building capability without having the right business context, you will not get the desired result. And also, if you have too much of emphasis on aggressive business goals and you do not give people the required skills, tools to be able to achieve them, then again, you are setting people up or the organization up for failure. This realization actually helped me to make this decision of moving from the business role to the HR role, and that's how my journey began.
Wow, that's wonderful, Mr. Rizwan. I'd like to talk about another thing. Every disruptive career path has a risk unto itself. In your trajectory, as you mentioned, we came across the move that you made from a traditional stable business into a startup world. That is one. And second, you started with operations and business and transitioned into a role into people management. I'm sure you faced a number of challenges when you did this, probably even failures. What did you learn from all of this, and why is it important that you embrace and celebrate these failures?
Sure. I think I personally believe in constant evolution. I also am a firm believer of don't say no. So the reason I do that is because when we box ourselves into preconceived notion of what is right and what is wrong, that's when we suffer. There is no guarantee at all that a particular organization or a particular role is stable, right? In my own career, I've seen a lot of stable organizations stutter and startups scale heights that you've never seen before. So that's my approach towards any career decision or life decision that I make. But the biggest challenge, as you asked, when I took up this role was to develop the technical know-how of how to marry the business objectives and the people strategies. This makes you second guess yourself, right? When you're not sure. But sooner you realize that you don't know everything and you possibly can't. And there are always people who do, and you can go and ask them what's the best way to approach a certain situation or certain problem. The better it is for your own progression. Okay? If you don't do that, the worst is that you would delay something, and even bad would be that you would get it all horribly wrong. So as we evolve, we should always, and I at least I try to do that, surround myself with a council of people who can guide and course correct wherever required. That's how you will learn from your own failures. And sometimes before you commit those failures, people will be there to help you out to avoid doing them. So that's my approach essentially.
That's great. And I personally believe that people are the backbone of any business. So great. We hear several times in strategic sessions that we need to learn to fail fast to explore new opportunities and avenues for growth. With this in mind, do you believe that organizations do enough to support a culture to fail, thereby promoting innovation and growth?
Uh, in short, the answer is no. But let me just take a stab at what is required for this, right? The whole concept of failing fast, especially in today's market, is not looked at favorably, right? But it also is very fundamental to innovation, to growth, and the whole idea of promoting a culture of experimentation and learning. We all talk about this in our day-to-day conversations, but somehow we are not able to effectively support this whole process. I feel there are a few things that one needs to take care of as an organization. First and foremost, I think we need to have leadership commitment in this entire process. uh, if if there is an organization where the leaders genuinely embrace the idea of failing fast and encourage risk taking, it is more likely to become ingrained in the culture of the company. If not, then it would not see the light of the day that we would want it to. uh, just having commitment is not enough. Allocating resources are also equally important. When I say resources, it could be budget, it could be talent, it could be time. We, for one, in our organization have a separate team called New Initiatives that focuses on new lines of businesses that can potentially become the next big thing here at Boda. So that's the other bit. There are a few more things that one can think of. One is learning from failure. It is not enough to accept failure. I know people talk about celebrating failures. It's good, do that, but don't just accept that. Just learn from the failure. Some organizations implement a structured innovation process. There are many. One thing that comes to my mind is a lean startup methodology to guide the process of failing fast. This provides you with a framework for experimentation and learning. And if you ask me, yeah, the most important one would be psychological safety. If the employees need to be, so the employees need to feel safe when they are trying to take risk and admitting failure. If I'm worried that if I fail and if I admit to that failure, it will lead to the future here at the organization, or it would lead to ridicule for my failures, then the whole culture is undermined. So these are some of the things that come to my mind off the bat. But essentially, there is a lot of room for improvement for all of us to be able to create this culture of innovation and growth. And it's, most of us at times do a lot of lip service to it without committing to creating tangible actions like resources, budgets, supportive environment. If we're able to bring all of these things together, I think failing fast can be looked at positively and not negatively.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Next, I want to ask you is what are some examples of models or programs that you have been able to successfully implement in this culture of celebrating failure? Or having a safe environment uh, for people to fail while innovating.
Sure. So, like I said, we are all work in progress in some way. But what we do essentially here is we have two separate things. One is we have a new initiatives team that takes care of all the new businesses that come up. A couple of our lines of businesses, like our packers and movers and our two-wheeler segment, they came up during the peak of COVID when we tried different lines of businesses, right? So that's one encouragement that we did. We created a group called Think Tank, and there were small groups that were created across the organization. And the idea was, think about an avenue of business that might help you get out of COVID in a much more positive and fast way. And those gave us wonderful results. In addition to that, we also have a annual showcase event that we've been running for the last 2 years, where we give employees an opportunity to present the projects and initiatives that they've been working on. Now, one thing that we are very conscious of is not all projects have proven outcomes, because it's very easy to celebrate one which has a proven outcome. We celebrate everything that has been initiated. Most of them are work in progress. The idea is to encourage people to try new things and meet their team goals and celebrate the success together. The other important aspect that we also do is we link all of these to our values and behaviors. Without linking this, right? And in our mind, as long as you maintain consistency of goal alignment, value mapping, celebrating together, we will not be able to do this effectively. So if you want to foster the culture of innovation, you have small things, see what works for you, iterate, and keep moving on with that.
So, such an interesting perspective to the culture of innovation. Thanks for sharing that. How does one balance this culture? Because at the end of the day, there has to be a balance from an organization standpoint.
Absolutely. You couldn't be more right. There has to be, and it's an excellent key point that you've raised. There has to be a balance, right, between everything. We can talk about failing fast, but what happens when you fail? We know what is there for everybody to see. So the first and the foremost thing I feel is alignment with the organization objectives. If you're talking about failing fast, it should be aligned to the organization's objectives. Experimentation should be encouraged, but it should not be detached from the company's mission and the strategic goals. If it is, then you're not really, doing service to what the organization wants to achieve. You also need to have risk management philosophy in place, and you need to be able to encourage the employees to take calculated risks,
yes,
not reckless ones. What we strongly believe is, at least internally, we don't want to win at all costs or at any costs. Okay? The minute you start going down that path, that's when failing fast becomes failing more real, right? And you can only do risk management more effectively if you have transparency in place. When what I mean by transparency is, talk about the organization's financial health, your overall performance. When the employees have a clear picture what the organization's status is, they're more likely to make more responsible decisions regarding risk taking, right? Also, accountability is equally important. One of our values is ownership, and we hold the teams accountable for their decisions. What I mean is, failure, it should be tolerated, it should be even celebrated, but it should not be used as an excuse for a lack of responsibility or accountability. So individuals or their team should take ownership for their actions. And last, I think this is one thing that we've learned in our journey here is, have your clear exit strategy. Sometimes we hang on to things a lot longer than we should. And it's just that we are so attached to the things that we're doing that we are not able to let go. And I'm not saying that everything needs to pivot, but when it does, you need to make sure that what's the right time to do that, and be brave enough to make that decision to let go. So I think if you're able to do all of these things right, you'll be able to bring a right balance between prudent risk taking and managing the overall health of the organization as well.
Thanks for that. I'm sure it's easier for startups to embrace a culture of failure versus a more established organization. Do you feel when it comes to startups, do they believe, or otherwise established corporations have a lot more, since they have a lot more cash buffer, goodwill, and time connections?
Look, I'll break this into two parts. I don't think that startups alone have this culture of risk taking and innovation and the other things that we are talking about. On the contrary, the best examples come from very large scale organizations. Toyota is an excellent example. There's a book called Toyota Kata, also that talks about continuous improvement, the culture of experimentation and problem solving. It promotes, I think, iterative learning and how not to penalize mistakes, but to see them as an opportunity for improvement. So that's one example. There are a few more, I think. IBM and GE do this very well. They have innovation labs, which they provide safe environment for employees to explore new concepts and technologies, with emphasis on experimentation and learning from failures. Even Google has Google X, right, which is a moonshot project company. There are some of the projects that came out of that company, like Google Lens, Loon, not the best successes, but they learn from it. So it's not essentially limited to startups. Large organizations also do it. And startups, yes, by the virtue of the kind of business that we are in, we need to be able to make changes. Otherwise, you cannot become relevant in the long run, right? But like I mentioned earlier also, if you define the guardrails that we spoke about, and if you maintain those, I think you will be able to encourage the culture of failing fast very quickly.
Right. That makes total sense. Uh, Tactically, can you share programs that you, as an HR leader, have successfully run to promote risk-taking innovation in your organization? And how do you incentivize and promote this behavior?
I, I think it's linked to the same bit that we spoke
Yes.
about earlier. Yeah. As long as you celebrate the successes with people together, you give them a platform to showcase the work that they have done. Recognition plays a very crucial role.
Correct.
And when it comes to promoting people, you need not assess them on the basis of the success or failures that they've had. A lot of 0 to 1 journeys will see failures.
Yes.
We don't take that into consideration when we're looking at our next line of leaders. If the input in the 0 to 1 journey was excellent, we would reward them equally. But it all goes back to creating a separate team, working on dedicated projects, celebrating quick wins, and allowing people to showcase and see the impact of the work that they do. These are some of the things that one can do.
Couldn't agree more. Uh, Whereas there's a flip side to this. We are seeing a lot more of the younger talent today are embracing failure by opportunity, by virtue of opportunities that exist today, such as freelance, social media, and also the startup culture. We see there's a shift from the traditionally safe jobs. How does one tackle this in relation to our discussion so far?
Wow. Uh, the shift is obvious. You will see a lot of avenues out available to people also. Than say about 10 years, 15 years back. Social media being one such opportunity, freelance opportunity. Post-COVID world, the availability of hybrid opportunities are also there with individuals to pick up. So yes, you're right. It becomes difficult to attract talent, and it while it aligns with the principles of innovation. As an organization, you want to build a team which is there for you and stays with you, right? So we also need to modify our approach. Now, some of the things that we can do is we can adapt to the new talent expectations, right? What can we do with that is we can prioritize opportunities for growth, learning, purpose, why they're doing what they are doing, rather than just focus on job security. I'm not saying job security is not important, it is important, but you also need to be able to show how people can grow fast if they do well within your organization, right? And that should be our commitment to individuals' personal development. That's one. We should also not assume that the line of path for people to grow is only linear and straight up. Create a diversity in the career path for individuals. Here at Porter, a lot of individuals, including myself, have moved from one teams to another, and we recognize that we did recognize that very early, that given opportunity, let people thrive. If you create a nurturing environment, then people would want to innovate with you, people would want to try new things, and more often than not, they will succeed. And we've seen that in our own experience here. And invest heavily in learning and development. This is one of the first things that I did when I took over the people role. Prioritize continuous learning and development programs, especially when you're getting into the people manager space, when you're becoming a manager for the first time. Then identify in the process of that right now, identify which function skills will help you do better and impart that learning to them to develop those new skills. And lastly, this is one area which I want to focus on, and it's essential for growth, is create a good support network of peers and mentors, not just for work. Sometimes it's you just want to go and talk to somebody about something. And if you're able to create that environment where people feel safe to talk about both successes and failures and learn from each other's experiences, that creates that environment that fosters growth, and want people to be a part of it, and feel it makes you feel like a extended family rather than just an organization to work with.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rizwan. It's been so insightful hearing all of these experiences from you. Lastly, I have a rapid fire round for you. Are you ready for this?
Okay, let's see.
All right. You need to answer by identifying what you most closely relate to. So, gut feel or data driven?
Data driven.
People or process?
I know I should say people, don't I? but honestly, for me, it's process with people in the center of it. If you do that well, you will do everything right.
Right. Hire fast, fire fast, or hire mindfully and try to get it right?
It's a no-brainer. Hire mindfully and try to get it right. We don't believe in hire and fire here, so it's a no-brainer.
Outcome or KPI driven at any cost versus culture driven?
I think I answered this question earlier. We don't believe at growth at any cost, so it has to be culture driven. Although we still have a lot of work to do in that front, but yeah, culture. If you drive it through culture, you can achieve most of the outcomes that you want.
All right. Movies or books?
Oh, movies. That's easy. Yeah.
Which movie would be your favorite movie?
Which movie? There's this one movie that I couldn't see it in the theater long back. Rang De Basanti is one of my favorite movies. It's also a regret that I couldn't see it in a movie hall. So yeah, that's it.
I was gonna ask favorite Bollywood movie, but you've already answered that. What would your favorite Hollywood movie be?
Favorite Hollywood movie? Oh, Forrest Gump.
Okay.
It's the best underdog story that you can ever have. So yeah, Forrest
Gump. What superhuman gift would you absolutely desire? Invisibility, ability to fly, or teleport?
Oh, teleport. We are all in metro cities, and traveling to office and back home is the biggest challenge. Teleport any given day.
Agreed. In a city like Bangalore, I guess even I'd pick that. So that's a wrap. And thank you once again for your time and joining us today, Mr. Rizwan. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for connecting, and join us for our next CHRO Connect episode with us. Stay tuned.